Yeah, I'll react to that, sure. Hello. My name is Connor, if you are new. How did the world react to the unification of Germany? Otto, my man. They probably reacted. Well, Britain probably was most concerned. Maybe France. Well, no, Britain was probably most concerned because I think France was already very much concerned because they were beaten in the Franco-Prussian War. And so if I'm Britain, I'm like, oh crap, I've been fighting France for all these centuries, and now it looks like there's a new person in town, and he might be even more powerful. Of course, Britain's navy is always kind of unmatched, and it's gonna no matter how great your land army is, it doesn't matter if you can't get it across the channel. So they're probably like, oh crap. Russia, probably scared, but they're always a mess. And then there's Austria, which, funnily enough, during the Austro-Prussian War, they could have easily walked through Vienna and captured all of Austria as well, but Otto told the Kaiser, no. Tell me if I'm wrong on that part right there. I'm pretty sure. He's like, no, this is part of the bigger plan to attack France, or at least goad France into a battle. And so the German states will want to huddle around Prussia, and then you can create a united Germany. So yeah, I'm thinking UK was probably most worried.
The 19th century saw many countries pop into existence as nationalist movements sprang up across the world. Few had as much of a lasting impact as the creation of Germany, which not only saw the birth of a new nation, but the rise of a great power. And given the power that this new country held, how did other states react to its creation? How did the world's great powers react to the birth of Germany? As you'll likely know, Germany came into existence after the North German Confederation and these smaller German-speaking states won a war against France in 1870. After the collapse of the French army, German leaders gathered in Versailles and proclaimed the creation of 1870.
I'm sorry, I love Napoleon III as a character in history. I just do.
The collapse of the French army, German leaders gathered in Versailles and proclaimed the creation of the German Empire, with the North German leader and Prussian king as its emperor. As such, you'll guess that the French reaction was one of anger. Mostly because of the embarrassing defeat and occupation thing, but also because this new Germany took with it a part of France in the form of Alsace-Lorraine. That said, there was nothing they could do to oppose it, and frankly, they had their own problems. In the north, the British position was mixed. On the one hand, France had just lost a thing which would never not be funny. On the other hand, sheer panic, because there was now a new threat to British power. Prime Minister Gladstone...
Hey, I was pretty I'm learning, guys. I'd say I'm pretty spot on with what I said before, right? Give me credit, alright? I rarely get things right.
Announced the unification and sheer panic because there was now a new threat to British power. Prime Minister Gladstone denounced the unification and tried to get countries like Sweden, Norway, Denmark and Belgium on board. Shockingly, none of these wanted to upset...
Who? I'm sorry, who?
...was mixed. On the one hand, France had just lost a thing which would never not be funny. On the other hand, sheer panic because there was now a new threat to British power. Prime Minister Gladstone denounced the unification and tried to get countries like Sweden, Norway, Denmark and Belgium on board. Shockingly, none of these wanted to upset the new major power sitting right next to them, and so they said nothing. As such, Britain grumbled but understood that it was a done deal. And now, many in government saw that Germany, not France or Russia, would be the main threat from now on, and for many that meant war was soon to follow. To Germany's south, the Austro-Hungarian Empire wasn't too pleased about this development. It had just lost a war to Prussia 5 years earlier, and given the number of German-speaking people living in the empire, there were fears that they would be on the receiving end of any future German expansion. As such, the Viennese government was quick to accept any offers of alliance from Germany to protect itself. It also turned its attention to the Balkans from then on.
Germany, both world wars, stuck with noobs.
Recognizing that expansion needed to protect itself. It also turned its attention to the Balkans from then on. Recognizing that expansion back into Italy or restoring its old German alliances were both dead ends. To the east, Russia was largely happy with German unification. Russia's main concern at this point was Britain, and so a powerful industrialized state in the center of Europe was seen as a potential ally in any future war. Also,
that's also one of the reasons that Russia sold Alaska to the US for so cheap, right? Because Russia needed money really bad, and it seemed like, it's better to get a not so great price for Alaska for the US to control it, who was still a fledgling nation and didn't pose a threat, because it's very likely that the British would just take it by force, and it's worse if they have it. Am I right there?
a powerful industrialized state in the center of Europe was seen as a potential ally in any future war. Also, given both were absolutist conservative powers, there was zero chance that they'd ever come to blows themselves, and thus, nothing could go wrong. Across the Atlantic, the United States welcomed the news. President Ulysses S. Grant saw German unification as somewhat analogous to the birth of the United States. And it was hoped that this new Germany, with its male suffrage, its elected parliament, and its many individual states, would see the liberalisation of Germany. But fun fact, no. The Italians, also freshly unified, were pleased with the birth of Germany. The war had seen French troops leave the Papal States, which allowed for Italy to quickly annex it. And it was hoped that a strong Germany would help Italy counter any Austrian attempts to return there in the future. And one thing that most nations had in common when thinking about German unification was the sheer surprise at how quickly France had lost. It wasn't just the creation of a new large economy or cultural centre.
I completely blanked and paused for like 10 seconds, and I still can't remember what I was going to say. So until I remember.
Cultural centre. It was the birth of a massive military power, whose friendship could change the balance of power in Europe forever after, a fact which the new Germany was well aware of. I hope you enjoyed this episode and
I did, thank you for making.
Quickly France had lost. It wasn't just the creation of a new large economy or cultural centre. It was the birth of a massive military power, whose friendship could change the balance of power in Europe forever after, a fact which the new Germany was well aware of. I hope you enjoyed this episode and thank you for watching.
Thank you for making. Great, as always, history matters. The UK, that I always say, like, the greatest thing about America in my eyes is the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, because we have relatively weaker militarily nations to the north and south, all across from Alaska to Greenland to Florida to Yucatan to Rio de Janeiro to Patagonia through the Andes. We don't have a lot of enemies, and so even the channel, the English Channel, is a giant barrier, especially when you have an unmatched navy, and so it's hard to get to them. But like France in the Napoleonic Wars, and like Germany in, I guess not World War, in Germany in the Franco-Prussian War and World War II for a while, until they lost, controlled Europe. But still, it's hard to get to the UK, and as long as the UK has some sort of ally or has a strong enough trade routes with its colonies and passages over the ocean, it's incredibly difficult to defeat. Cool video. I'm going crazy. It's been a long day, but bye guys. I hope this wasn't, if this was the first time watching me, don't judge too hard. Anyways, love y'all. Hope you're all doing well. If not, chin up. You'll be good soon. Bye.